the ones you want to answer in your writing. And then let's make a nice little bracket around that too. And so I'm going to explain it. So writers teach others about their topic by actually doing some teaching. That's the best way to not only learn more about what you should write about, but also it's a great way to organize your thoughts when you're actually doing some of the teaching. And so the questions, if you have students, the questions that people ask your students or your audience, those questions that they ask, those are the questions that you want to answer in your writing. Those are the ones that you want to make sure that you didn't leave out any information on. So we're going to talk about this today. And so So we're going to talk about teaching because teaching is the best way. One way that we can say that we can talk about teaching is that writing our informational book is a lot like teaching, just because you can explain it like how Mrs. Jones and I are always kind of up here teaching you guys. You can also teach by writing. And every book that you read, especially all these books up here about the explorers that we have, they're all teaching us about the explorers too. So by writing a book like that, you're actually doing a lot of teaching. So we went around and we did read everybody's start on chapter 2. And we were very impressed with how some of us were able to categorize a lot of our information, especially after we talked about the different, the flow maps and the different ways that we can organize our categories. And so we were going to have a few people teach the class about their categories and about the way that they categorize their information. And then some of our students in this class might actually be going over in Ms. Kaplan's class to teach them too. So I hope everybody is ready because this is going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun too. Some people might be. I'm going to be calling on a lot of people today to do some teaching. So start thinking about what you might say, what you want to talk about, your topic, because it's going to be great. Because the reason why we want to do all this teaching is because by explaining your topic to others is going to help you figure out what else you should write, what else you should teach your audience about in your book. So does everybody have the writer's point down? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up. Teacher's point. So let's pull this up and turn this off. And then the first person I wanted to have come up here was Valerie. Valerie, can you come up here? So let's remember what it means to be responsible and respectful listeners when we have a guest speaker up here. So what Valerie's going to do is she's going to talk about her topics. You don't have to go into too much detail, but just talk about maybe briefly the way you categorize your information. No, that's what you have is perfect because we're gonna work on it together. So I need everyone to use their best listening eyes and ears for Valerie, and remember you might be coming up here next. So one thing to think about is is there anything that you think Valerie could add to her paper to make it better? And 3 questions that I have that I want to talk about too is when we're doing any kind of teaching, when me and Mrs. Jones are doing our lesson plans or when authors are writing books, they always ask 3 questions, right? One question is, what do I want my audience to learn? And that's a big one, because why even write a book if you don't know what you want your audience to learn? Another one too is like, what will interest people? Because you want to keep your book interesting. If it's kind of boring, then somebody might not want to read the whole thing. So you want to keep it interesting, and then you want to make sure that your book's not confusing. You want to make sure that you're organized and all of your information, it makes sense and it doesn't confuse them. And if it does confuse them, maybe what can we do to clarify? So Valerie's going to be giving us a really good example of maybe a writer who has the plan first, and now she wants to go over her plan to make sure that she knows what she wants her audience to learn. She knows she wants to decide what's going to interest her audience more, and maybe what might confuse them. So as you're listening, maybe think about those 3 questions. So Valerie, if you'd like to be so kind.
I started my map with a tree map, and it's about Francis Drake. And the categories are when he was born in 1540, Tavistock, Devonshire, in England, and his place of an unsuccessful raiding mission and also by a really bad sickness. His jobs were being a pirate. He robbed the ships from Spain, the galleons, and he sailed around the world as well. The second person to sail around the world, and he hated Spain.
All right. So one thing that I definitely got, and that was fantastic. Can I give Valerie a round of applause? Thank you, Valerie. And you can sit down. But thank you so much for helping us and being such a great example. So what I got out of Valerie's lesson, her little mini lesson that she did, was the topic, right? Her topic, her main idea was Francis Drake. And then she had subtopics, right? She had when he was born. She talked a little about when he was born. She talked about his death, like towards the end of his life. She also talked about his jobs. And those were three really good categories. And then she also talked about, she said that
And there's another
he hated Spain.
He hated Spain, and he had deep hatred in the Spanish crown.
Okay. So let's go hated Spain for another subtopic. Now, I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to think and then speak with your writing partner, low speaking voice, about maybe what else we could add. Was there anything that you want, anything else that you want your audience to learn, or that Valerie wants her audience to learn that maybe we can add here? Was there maybe anything that you think will be like really interesting that she can add to like really grab people's attention?
Can I get my notes? Because my notes are like...
Yeah, they should be in your notebook, but yeah, you can go and get those. And then also, was there anything that she said that was confusing, or maybe how should she clarify? So, let's everybody take 2 minutes and speak with their writing partner about it. Josh, do you have a question? Yeah, something she might add. So, let's stop and talk to our writing partner for 2 minutes. You don't have a partner? You want to join? Oh, okay. Well, she did a really good job. So, feel free to talk about anything that you think that we could add to this. Anything we can change. Well, think about maybe the structure too. Oh, okay. So I want to stop everybody right here. So can we're going to have more time for partner sharing in a minute too. But I heard something really, really great that I want to share with everybody. And that, yeah, all this information up here is really good. I'm going to use a different color. But what about, do we need anything, what do we usually have at the end of like every kind of story, every kind of essay that we usually write? I heard it from over there on that side of the room. And that was, yeah, a conclusion. Okay, so that's kind of messy, but a conclusion. You can write a conclusion about any topic, and that's just the structure of your essay. And you should have a conclusion. And then, if you have a conclusion, what else might you want? Maybe an introduction, I heard over there too. So let's do intro. So you have an introduction and you have a conclusion. Those are really good points. And now, did anybody else share anything that they thought we could add, just as a category? Maybe ways that we could clarify information. Yeah, Cassidy. How he rated the Spanish ships. Maybe that could go under jobs, or do you think that deserves a whole other category?
I think that should be what hated Spain.
hated Spain. See, these are the choices that we can make as writers. How do we think it would make the most sense to put the details, and we need details, we need lots and lots of details, and so we have to organize the details into these categories that we have.
Should we put born first and intro first, then comes born, then comes jobs?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what
so,
And then comes hated Spain, then comes
oh.
then that is
So-
and then comes
So if we were going to clarify information, you know, what might confuse somebody? If he was born and then he was died, and then, wait, Jobs, I thought that guy was long gone, you know, he's got Jobs now? So yeah, maybe we can put this paragraph down here, you know?
and then hated Spain comes after jobs.
Mr.
Because
Holligan.
when he was doing his job, he used to be a merchant, and then he got hired by his cousins to be a private tutor, and then that's when he did illegal slave trading with the Spanish men, and then these Spanish men they betrayed him, and then they captured him and they were back to kill him, like he escaped, and then that's when he used to leave.
Alright, so it sounds like you have a lot of details all about the topic, and so that's fantastic. Oh yeah, Joshua?
No, I'm noticing Nathan is writing some notes on it. I love that because he heard something else that Nathan C said, so he's writing it down in his notebook. I love it.
So I would recommend too, if you are getting any good ideas, maybe write those down so we remember them too. And I'm going to call on...
about how Frank White was so successful that he about how Frank White was so successful that he was turned into a knight by the
Oh, so he was knighted. Do you think that gets its own category, or did he do other things? Okay, so did he do other things too?
Yeah, he destroyed the Spanish.
So he did other things maybe? And so he was knighted. Hold on, let me write this.
He was knighted because he destroyed the Spanish forces.
So he was knighted, and did he also do other things? Maybe you can talk about how he was knighted, or you can have another paragraph about all of his accomplishments.
Yeah, he raised many ships. He destroyed the fight concept, setting fire ships, and raised them, battered, and they crashed into rocks.
Yes, you can talk about his accomplishments in one paragraph too. That could be one whole subtopic.
His cousin, I think, was John Hopkins.
Okay, so Valerie, did you have anything else? Any other good? After maybe talking to some of our writing partners or listening to what our peers had to say, do you think of maybe another subtopic you wanted to add? Yeah, I mean, you just told me some more details. So details about his family, maybe?
Okay.
Because that's what you said. You were talking about his cousin, right?
And his dad was a sailor, and that's how he knew how to navigate the sea.
Oh, so maybe you can. Oh, so maybe you can talk about his family, or also maybe you could talk about learning to sail. So, Valerie, after you came up here and taught your lesson, did you think of anything else and you said, oh, I should add that? Or, oh, maybe I could have done something a little differently to explain things better or to clarify? I mean, this is just a question to you, like yes or no. Like, did you think of these things that maybe you could do differently or you could add?
Yeah, I wasn't finished there. I thought if I didn't get room, I could draw another tree map, and if I had even more.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. But I talk to Mrs. Jones about this all the time, and that is when we're teaching something, sometimes we'll think, oh, I forgot this part that I really wanted to say, or oh man, I could have clarified the math lesson that we did today if I showed more of the number lines. So as teachers, it really helps us kind of organize our thoughts and figure out how we could teach something better by teaching it in the first place. And then every time you teach it, maybe every time you write a draft, just because remember, informational writing is just like teaching. So every time you write a draft, you can get more ideas like, oh, that draft, maybe I forgot something. Or maybe I could clarify that first flash draft that we did with more organization, more subtopics, and then more details about the subtopics too. So that's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing some teaching today. And because I think it's going to really help with the way that we organize our writing and the way that we come up with more ideas to make our writing better. Now, I also want to added a little couple things to our chart over here that I showed us. And the one thing that I wanted to add was, for this part, what do I want my audience to learn? And we should, so after we teach it the first time, then we can ask these questions. So here we can add missing parts. Just like we did right here, we added some of the missing parts. And then what's going to interest people? So you can add quotes. If you really need to get people's attention, you can add quotes. Quotes, maybe funny stories. Yeah. Or what about, we didn't talk about that, we should put it in here too, is what about like a hook? You know, like a good hook sentence, maybe some good transitions. Someone write that here too. A hook. And not Captain Hook, he was another pirate, but different kind of hook. Let's see, hey, that kept things interesting. And now for clarifying, maybe you can think about, or you can add a sentence. If you were wondering if you were wondering, and then you can ask a question here. You can say, if you were wondering how Francis Drake learned to sail, ... And then you can answer that question. And that's also a good way to keep things interesting. You can ask a question. Were you wondering how Francis Drake learned to sail? Yeah, you can put a little bit, even though our chapter 1 was all about the age of exploration, you can add a little bit of the age of exploration into this one if it fits into one of these subcategories really nicely. So, with your partner, when I say go, with your partner, you are going to teach your partner about your topic. And I know some people have the same topics, and that's fine. So you can bounce ideas off each other. You can learn more about your partner. You can learn more about your topic by seeing what your partner has to teach or what other people at your table have to teach you about. And that's a good way to learn. But you can also learn more about your topic by hearing somebody else teach you about their topic. And you can see how these two different topics maybe interact with each other. And you can write. You can write some of that information down too if your partner has a really good idea. So we're going to have 2 more minutes again to partner share. And by partner share, I mean partner teach. Take turns though. Don't just sit there and, when you're listening, don't just sit there and don't, try to sharpen a plastic pencil. That won't sharpen. Don't just kind of space out and don't think about, oh man, what am I going to have for lunch today? Really listen to what they're saying. Because I'm going to be calling on people to tell me what they learned from their partner. Okay? So go, you guys have 2 minutes, and I want to hear really good conversations. I'm going to be listening. You have a writing partner? Like a partner that we usually use for writing? Maybe you can teach me. What's your topic about? Francis Drake. Is there anything you think you can teach me about Francis Drake? Anything really interesting? Maybe was there anything that I said that